And we're back. All right. So now we're going to be going over a very cool feature in Pro Tools, but it depending on what you have available to you, this can be a very useful thing or a source of frustration depending on the requirements of your computer. But you can definitely see the benefits from this. But we're talking about using the Workspace browser and this thing called Soundbase, which we'll talk about what that is in a second, okay? But first, I'm just going to show you where that is. If you go to Window, New Workspace, and just go to Default, this is known as the Workspace browser. You can see your locations. There's basically all your drives and all the sample libraries you might have. I don't have any specifically from Pro Tools. Otherwise, they would show up right in the Sound Libraries bank here. But I do have volumes with different files on them, which we'll get to in a second. But basically, what this does, it kind of works as a fancy version of your Finder. Here, I would be able to find from my different sound effects libraries, I'd be able to find different ones from this browser. But there's some limitations to this. Well, not limitations, but there's some cool features in the Workspace browser that we'll get to in a second that allow us to do some cool things. But the things I would prefer that I prefer to have it set up with, I'll show you I'll show you right now. I like to have the volume I'm going to choose from picked out first. Whatever is selected over here in the locations, that's what Pro Tools is going to look in. Okay. So right now we just have it looking in all the volumes, all the drives we have connected, and depending on your computer, you could have a lot of files in those sections. And I found that the Workspace browser is known to crash. And the reason it crashes is usually because it's overwhelmed with how much it's searching in a session. So I usually get to choose the drive I'm working from, and then even further go into the drive I'm specifically trying to find a particular file from. So in this case, I'd be looking for my sound effects. Where are they? Sound. Am I in the right one? Yep. Sound effects. There we are. And then even go further and look for a specific library. But we can dwill it down to here. Now, in here, you see a couple things show up. These what are known as tags. This is where the Workspace browser is really cool. Whereas in the Finder, you can search here and look for something, but in the Workspace browser, it recognizes tags within the metadata of your files. Basically, in certain sound libraries, they'll put in metadata such as, like, if it's a trumpet that's recorded, it'll say brass, loud, instrument, or anything that would describe what's in the file rather than just searching for trumpet or something like that. And sometimes it's spelled differently. The file might be spelled like to say audio or to say TPT for trumpet. Here, in the metadata, it will tell us exactly what we're looking for. So I have a track up right now, and we'll take a listen to it, and I have an idea of what I want to do with it. Cool. So you can see I track this to a click to the metronome. That's going to allow some cool things to happen, especially in this other section here. The fact that everything is hooked up to the same tempo, it's going to allow me to import things that have that tempo. So I'm going to just go wrong spot. I'm using Command tilde to toggle between my windows and Pro Tools. And I'm going to just search my whole drive for this. And I just want to add some drums, like a drum kit to this, let's say. So I'm just going to type in drums. If you're searching up here, it'll just search for what's in the file name here, okay? So I'm going to look for something that I've used in the past, something like this. So now if we're looking in the file here, we can play it from here. Okay, no big deal. We can find other versions of different files here, depending on what we're looking for. But that's no different than what we've had before, right? We've been able to do this. We've been able to do this in the Finder window, right? So what makes this one different? What makes it different? Well, you can scroll. It gives you a preview of the file, so you can scroll through it. I got a lot of versions of that one file. You can search for it by file size. You can search for it by duration, by the date it was recorded, by the kind of file it is. You know, all these sorts of things. But so that's a cool groove. Let's go ahead and play the track, and then play that file at the same time that track is going. So it sounds a little weird, right? So I'm just going to make it lock to the tempo of the track here by doing one quick move. I'm going to press play, and I'm going to show you a button that we're going to press to get it to lock into the tempo. So you can see that we can get audio to lock into tempo fairly easily, just with a single click of a button, right? This forces whatever file you are playing back to the tempo of your session, right? So if you wanted to import this particular track, you can do so in the tempo that you have selected. Now, how can you do that? Well, you can just select that. You can take this track and drag it into your tracks list. That will create a new session, a new track, excuse me. And then it will actually automatically copy to your audio files folder. The reason why is because something I've showed you guys in the past. Under processing, these two checkboxes are selected, so it automatically copies file on import, so you're not losing files. It goes directly to your audio files track. And now we can it's tethered to the click here in here, but not only that, it actually has changed the tempo of the track. I'm going to mute this one and see what we have with this drum track that we just imported. Cool, so we're able to do that one. Let's see what this one has for us. That's an old drum track that doesn't that doesn't fit the style of this track, so we're going to delete that one. But you can do this with any bit of audio you might have recorded, which is really awesome. Something you can't do with just your Finder window, right? I can save a lot of time in with editing or composition or the creative approach to creating tracks, especially when it comes to drum parts. So yeah, the different parts of that. If we go back to the Workspace browser, so we have the our sound libraries, our volumes, our session. Excuse me. Our sessions here, our track presets, our catalogs, and our users. Now, this is just your host computer users. Catalog, this is something you would have from Pro Tools. Track presets, same thing. These are user generated, but none are on this computer here. And this is known as the location pane. Up here you have the toolbar area. This is, anytime you see that spinning wheel, it means there's something going on, working in the background. A search is still happening. They're still searching for drum tracks here. Lots of drums on these drives. But if you want to enter, go from the Workspace browser into the Soundbase browser, all you have to do is click that button there. Okay, that allows you to enter the Soundbase and pull up these tags that may be available to you. You can also search within audio files and be even more specific, especially if there's things like a key signature tied to a track or a time signature or anything that's in this drop-down menu, which is quite a lot. But most of the time we're looking for tempo, we're looking for a time signature, we're looking for files that fit within these descriptions, right? So we can change it depending on what we have selected here and add or subtract criteria, right? So we're looking for a kind of file that is specifically an audio file. We can search for a key. That's very important, especially if we're looking for a melodic line or chords to put in. Time signature especially is very useful. This is in 3/4, or you can say like 3/8 or 6/8, depending on how you want to divide up that rhythm. I have this set to 3/4, so I see time signatures look for 3/4, and then I'll search for files in there. You can see not a lot of files are in 3/4 in sound and sample packs and sound libraries, right? So I switch out to any, but then you can do more refined searches here if you have sample libraries at the ready. Now, if you don't have sample libraries, that's okay. This stuff won't be as critical for your workflow, but what will be is being able to search for specific files into your on your host computer or anywhere on your computer or any drive they have connected to your computer in the Workspace browser. Let's see. You can also designate functions to your drives. I'm going to get rid of these two here. Let's see here. There we are. Now, why is it moving like that? Not quite sure. Turn that off. Exit out of here. Cool. You just have to exit out. So what happens a lot, we saw that in the past session that we had an issue with a drive not being formatted properly, right? I don't see the format pane here. Let's see if we have format selected here. Yeah, format is not showing up here. But what we're able to do is change the format from record to playback. There's more about that in another chapter in here, which I'll point you to in a later video. But if you need to not reformat the drive, but have it managed differently, you would do that in the Workspace browser as well. You can also locate different sessions and import sessions from the Workspace browser, which we'll go over in another video. You can also, obviously, audition files. You can have presets as to which location windows you have open. you do that. You set these presets by navigating to where you'd like to be. Let's say I want to find. Let's say I'm always going to that sound effects library down here. I would open it, and then save that as a preset by holding down Command, clicking 2, and then if I go to 1 and go to 2, it will. Oh, it didn't remember that. For some reason, didn't remember that. I'm not sure why, but we would be able to go between these presets. You can see why I have a love-hate relationship with the Workspace browser. Moving on. So that button we're talking about, the audio files conform to session tempo button. That's this button right here. It's shaped like a little metronome. To be able to hear back into the audio in your Workspace browser in the session tempo that you're working in, just click that button and we'll be able to navigate to it. We already went over the different ways of searching for a file, right? We can click the tags filter, and then the sound libraries, the Soundbase libraries sections here. Now you can import any type of file, your AIFF, your WAV files, MP3s, any files that Pro Tools can convert to your session tempo. It will on import. So it doesn't matter if it's a different bit depth or sample rate, everything will be imported into your session unless it's a very strange audio file format. So you don't have to worry about not being able to get audio files into your session using the Workspace browser. So you can do it and drag into the tracks list. But let's say I want to add like, let's say wind sounds to this. And search for all my wind sounds. I can do that. I can do that here by just typing in winds into the tags. I have some wind sounds I could add to it. Some of these are very strange and a little creepy sounding. I often use them for for scarier or tension building parts of a film. Doesn't really fit this happy and playful type of track that I got going here. But if I search just more broadly in my sound effects library and just search, let's exit that, and just search for winds, or wind, I should say. We can find something a little more clearly. I like this. I did this feature called Fish People that's on Netflix. It's about surfing and people's relationship to water, and there's some really cool things. But I use this sample library for that specific project. So let's take a listen to these. Pretty cool, but we can also do wind, and I'm thinking like wind blowing on a meadow or some grass here. Let's try this one. See, now that's lovely. I think that's gonna work. So let me make a new track. I'm gonna make a new stereo audio track. Call this wind. And I'm just going to drag and drop it into the space. So I've searched for it, I found it, click and drag, place it right where I want to. And maybe start at the very beginning of the session. And then mix it in. Now notice it didn't change like the tempo, because this wasn't a tempo oriented track, it's just a natural sound. If you click this and play it back, it can sound very strange. I always think that's fun because you can always tell when that's been left on if it sounds something strange and unusual like that. Yeah, you don't want that in this particular on this particular track, right? But you can see that this is an AIFF file, and it converted to the WAV file format that I have for this session. No problem, was able to play it back. So now we got these two, one conformed to the session tempo, one that didn't. They're placed in our session here. Let's see what we've got here. Let's go to grid mode, and let's start on the downbeat of the beginning of this track. Cool. So those drums don't really fit here as more of an example, but you can see how this can be very powerful, especially if a large library of drum samples that might fit your track. Okay. The next video we're going to talk about is about session data. I think it's one of the most powerful things to use in a session. It can save you so much time. I know it saved me a shnikes amount of time. And I hope it will do for you, but I want to dedicate one video to it because I think it's so cool. But I'll see you guys in that video. Thanks, guys.